During recent military exercises, Iran restricted navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. Armed boats pacing massive cargo ships like this deliberately displays strategic power. To understand why a handful of small boats can command so much international attention, we must look at the anatomy of a maritime choke point, a geographical bottleneck where global supply chains are squeezed into a single, vulnerable space. This is the Strait of Hormuz. It is the only maritime outlet connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and Arabian Sea. The volume is staggering. Per the U.S. Energy Information Administration's 2025 projections, 21 million barrels transit this channel daily. That represents nearly 20% of the total daily oil consumption for the entire planet. Concentrating 1/5 of the world's primary energy supply into a single physical location creates a systemic fragility in the global economy. The political borders here define the trap. The entire northern coastline of the strait belongs to Iran, while the southern shores are shared by Oman and the United Arab Emirates. From end to end, the passage stretches for 167 kilometers, but the danger lies in its terrifying narrowness. At the absolute tightest point, the distance between the Iranian and Omani shores is just 33 kilometers. Supertankers cannot use that entire 33-kilometer width. To navigate these waters safely, they must follow strict international maritime rules. These rules shrink the actual navigation corridor down to just 2 specific lanes, one for inbound traffic and one for outbound. Each lane is only 3 kilometers wide. A narrow buffer safety zone is all that separates these massive inbound and outbound vessels. Because of these physical and regulatory constraints, disrupting a space only 3 kilometers wide is enough to effectively neutralize the entire global corridor. This corridor is the only maritime exit for major exporters like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Iran, Qatar, and the UAE. For many, there is no viable alternative. While oil is the primary cargo, the strait is also the critical route for liquefied natural gas, or LNG. 1/5 of the entire global LNG trade, driven largely by Qatar, moves through this choke point on specialized carriers like this one. While exporters lose revenue, importing nations face a different kind of crisis. India's energy grid provides a clear example of this vulnerability. India's energy sourcing is heavily weighted toward this route. Roughly 45% of their total crude oil imports and nearly 60% of their LNG imports transit through the Strait of Hormuz. If those 3-kilometer lanes are blocked, India faces an immediate, tangible threat to the baseline energy security required to power its national economy. During the Iran-Iraq tanker war in the 1980s, commercial ships were targeted with direct strikes, leaving massive holes in steel decks and sinking tankers in the middle of the channel. That history of violence gives weight to modern geopolitical posturing in the region. Understanding the power of the choke point, Iran periodically threatens to close the strait whenever they face international sanctions or military tensions. There is a central paradox here. Despite decades of these threats, because of its hyper-narrow physical anatomy, the Strait of Hormuz functions as a geopolitical weapon, allowing nations to exert massive global leverage without ever firing a shot.